video, I'm going to give you an explanation of reality transurfing and also show you how you can easily apply it. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you a complete overview of reality transurfing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain it in some of the most simple ways I can that help us understand it, maybe from terminology that we already understand, especially terminology from maybe processes that we already relate to, so that we can really get to understand this at a much deeper level so that when we apply it, we get maximum benefit out of it. Now, this is something that I've been applying for about the last 3 months now, and I've been having amazing results. I mean, I'm talking things are happening easier than ever. I am it's more so about me, I'm not resisting as much. It's more like instead of me having to create everything and attract everything that's over there and into here, it more so comes with this realization that I can choose things in my life that allow me to go through the flow in order to achieve what I want. Really realizing I can give myself permission to be that right now in the present moment. I would say that's one of the biggest game changers when it comes to reality transurfing. Also, this idea of understanding decreasing importance, which has changed my life and also a lot of people that have read the book and follow my videos. So what I'm going to do is share with you a little bit of overview of all that. Now, first off, Reality Transurfing is a book that was written by a guy named Vadim Zeland. He's a quantum physicist from Russia, and he wrote this book. It's now been translated to a whole bunch of different languages, and it's like the newest, it's kind of like a philosophy, but at the same time, it's a manifestation process as well, because there's practical ways that we're going to get into as to how you can apply it in your daily life. Now, this has to do with understanding the awareness that there are an infinite number of parallel realities that exist. That of these infinite parallel realities, the one that you want to experience exists right now in the present moment, just like we can think of this as the analogy that I've used before of a film strip analogy. If I were to get a film strip and I were to lay it out like this and stretch it out, you would see individual frames on that film strip. Now those individual frames are separate parallel realities. And in the same way, all of those frames exist right now in the present moment. They're just going through the projector with the light shining through at a different time. So the awareness that what you want to experience exists right now in the present moment makes it much easier for you to connect to it, because it's less about you trying to get somewhere you're not already. It's more so about how can you embody in the present moment that version of you that already exists in the present moment. So the idea is that based on the choices that we're making right now, based on the intentions we're setting right now, or the lack of intentions we're setting right now, that's what's determining the consensual or the parallel realities that we're shifting to in that order. So it's almost like what we think of as time is the shifting through different parallel realities, because the only moment that does exist is this moment right now. What we think of as movement is us shifting through different parallel realities. Now, what our brain will do is our brain will link these different parallel realities together and say, oh, that's linear time-space reality, or that's just, the sun, that's it going through those different parallel realities, that's time. But really, that's an illusion of continuity, and that's just because we are trained to have that kind of, memory, and we're able to tag those all together. So at a deeper level, when we could see that even as I go like this right now, these are all individual frames, every little minute difference is a completely separate parallel reality. But our brain will interpret them all together because we are able to have memory, and we're able to, in a way, piece them all together, and we're meant to be having a time-space linear type experience in life. However, the awareness that what is really happening is that there's an infinite number of parallel realities that exist gives us the ability to really start to focus in the direction that we want. When we focus, when we have intention, that's where the focus is. Intention with reality transurfing is one of the most powerful things you can do, and the things you can start to set. So simply start to set intentions. An intention is also similar to that of an action. There really isn't that much difference between action and intention. The idea is that a lot of times the intention can also have the energy within it that also adds on to the action, but the intention is almost like a will to have something. It's a determination to act, a determination to have, and when you start to see it from that perspective, it's like that gives the direction. Think of intention, and I've used this analogy before, think of intention like the sail of a boat. Without the sail on a boat, it just kind of remains in limbo. But once you put the sail on the boat and you put it in the direction that you want, the wind will carry you. The flow of variations will carry you. That's the idea and the terminology under reality transurfing. So, we have intention, which is very powerful. So you set it in the direction of what you want. You literally start to focus more on things you want. This is something you can easily apply by doing something called segment intending. Now, segment intending is actually from that of Abraham Hicks. And it's something that's very powerful, but it's cool because a lot of times these all overlap in a very powerful way. So segment intending is before you go into a certain, what is called a segment or a certain part of your day, you set certain intentions for things to happen, and as you put and you align that energy before you go into it, you're much more likely to experience that which you want and that which you're thinking about. So it's almost like you're thinking of an outcome, and as you think of that outcome, you are pulling from those parallel realities and making that one the one that it slides into. So this is something I do when I'm going to the gym. I set an intention that I drive safe in my car, even though it's only 5-10 minutes away. I go to the gym, then I set an intention that I have an amazing workout, that I feel great, that I drink a lot of water, then I go through my workout, and then after my workout I set an intention that I drive home, or I drive to the grocery store in a safe way, and then when I'm at the grocery, so you set intentions. Now you don't have to compulsively always think, okay, gotta set intentions. However, I will say that the more you do it, the easier it gets, and then it almost becomes like on autopilot, to where like when you get into your car, you're just naturally thinking of a safe drive. You're naturally thinking of flowing through traffic in a safe way, and it does work in a very powerful way. So you can apply that and start to get results very quickly because you start to align with those quote-unquote parallel realities that exist right now in the present moment. So that's one part of reality transurfing. Now, another part is understanding your own thoughts and the power of observing your own thoughts, because many of the thoughts that you think you're having are actually the thoughts of other people and the thoughts of social conditioning. Now, in reality transurfing, this is what is called pendulums. Now, pendulums are these thought structures that are created when we are thinking similar, or just people are thinking similar thoughts and have similar beliefs about the world. So think of it like our thoughts have an electromagnetic reality. When we team up with other people, even subconsciously, and we think similar thoughts as them, those create thought structures, those create an electromagnetic reality to the thoughts that we're thinking, and we think we're always thinking our own thoughts, when in reality we're thinking the energy, we can feel the energy of these thoughts trying to pull us in a certain direction. Because pendulums, the idea of these thought structures is they want to live and they feed in a way on the thoughts of the collective. So let's look at some examples. The most common examples, the easiest ones for us to connect to, would be that of being Republican or Democrat. No matter which side you're on, if you have a positionality, you will many times start to take on the wave of those pendulums, because you'll be thinking, you'll feel the emotional charge, you go, that's my thoughts, when in reality, it's also the thoughts of the pendulum pulling you in a certain direction. So whether you fight it or you love it, if you are attached to either outcome or either positionality, you are being sucked in by that energy. Therefore, those are going to bang you around a little bit. Sometimes they can be a positive thing in certain ways if it's helping you, but most of the time it's something that just kind of drains your energy. So there's around politics, around sports teams. A lot of times the reason people like to go to sports teams is because when you go, you can feel the wave of energy that's there. Well, that's the pendulum. That's why you might like to go to a baseball game, but you could care less whether you watch it online or not, or if you watch it on the TV or not. So that is also a pendulum. There are pendulums around almost everything you can imagine when it comes to anytime you are in public and you feel maybe an urge to think a certain way, realize that could just be a pendulum that's trying to provoke you. Even when you're in traffic and somebody else is like cuts you off, that's a pendulum, and it's feeding on you, and you're making it very important because that person in front of you cuts you off, when in reality, it's also the thoughts of everyone else in traffic that has also been cut off before, and you're just feeling that reactive alignment that you had with that way of thinking. So, what this means is that you can start to become aware of what you are thinking and start to realize that as you become aware of what you're thinking, you can take your power back and start to think your own thoughts. But the first part of that is to become aware of those pendulums, become aware of those thought structures, and then to be how you prefer to be. Now, one of the most powerful ones and the most powerful parts of reality transurfing is understanding something that is called the balance of coordination, or the coordination of balance, one of the two. And it has to do with understanding that when we make anything very important, we also distance ourselves from it. So think about this. Anytime you put something on a pedestal, anytime you put someone on a pedestal, you'll immediately distance yourself from that thing or from that person. And that is because that as you make that person very important, you create something that is called excess potential. And excess potential then needs these balancing forces, metaphorically speaking, to come into play to then neutralize that energy. So what we can then begin to do is to start to understand that we must neutralize the things and the focus that we have. Because if we make it very important, we immediately create resistance around it. If we make it very important that we do something specific, we create resistance and we actually end up blocking it, because then that's what resonates with it. This also comes with understanding the power of intention over that of desire. So let's look at desire. Desire says, I want that because I do not currently have that. Well, the power of intention is just you're going to simply choose that, or you're going to have the will to have that. So it's different. So there is no power in just that of desire. So if I have a desire to put up my hand right now, but I don't do it, guess what? Nothing happens. But if I translate that desire into intention or action, guess what? Then my arm goes up and then there is movement. That is the same thing when it comes to understanding how we can resonate with what we want to experience, because what you want to experience exists right now in this moment at a different frequency. And it sounds very new agey, but guess what? That's what quantum physics is showing us, is that everything is vibration. And because everything is vibration, think about this in the form of resonance. When you start to resonate with your desires because you have the awareness that what you want to experience exists right now in the present moment, you start to connect to it in a very powerful way. So the other part of reality transurfing that I want to share with you has to do with understanding the power of connecting to your heart. Now, this is one of the most powerful parts of reality transurfing. One of the biggest benefits I've gotten has been over the balance of coordination, of understanding how to decrease the level of importance. And if you want a way to do that, a powerful way, I've created a free meditation that will help you to do that, help you to decrease the level of importance you give your goals, to then increase the probability that you experience them. It also will help you wire in a lot of these reality transurfing ideas. It's something that you can download for absolutely free. It's going to be in the top of the description box below. And in general, what you do is you just start to see it as comfortable and as natural for you to experience your goals. You see it as natural for you to be doing what you're doing, because if you almost don't have your self-image linked up with that of what you want, then it seems distant from you. But if it's just a part of who you are, then it's natural. So see it as more comfortable for you to be experiencing what you want. It's almost like you expand your comfort zone and you start to view yourself as just simply that kind of person. I am somebody that creates daily videos online, and the side effect of that is having growth with the YouTube subscriber base and having views. It's a natural part of the process. But if I were to make it very important, I would create resistance, and that wouldn't happen as much because people would see the resistance underneath what I do and it just wouldn't grow as fast. So it grows quickly because I don't give it excess meaning or excess importance, and I more so just align with that being natural for who I am. So the other part of reality transurfing is understanding connecting to our heart, and understanding that we must first off just feel in the passion of what we want to be doing and how we prefer to be. So how do we do this? Well, we have to start following our passion, following the feeling of excitement, because that is what's going to help us create in a very powerful way. But once again, not to make that more important than it has to be. Not to have to give us the expectation like, I got to get to like a 10 out of 10 in order for me to feel a certain way. No, make it more about getting to a more balanced like increase of how you feel. So instead of like me goaling myself and thinking that something I create in my life or something I attract in my life is going to make me feel a 10 out of 10, instead what I do is if I'm currently at a 6 or a 7 or even a 5 or a 6, I focus on the 6 or the 7. I focus on a couple knobs above that. How can I just embody more of my excitement? Because that feeling is what's going to carry you to more and more favorable life tracks. You see, here's the thing. As our state of being increases, our perception changes, and then we perceive a more and more favorable, what are called life tracks. Life tracks are like a consecutive amount of the parallel realities in the direction of what we want. So as I experience more and more of something positive, guess what? I feel that within me. I then see more favorable life tracks because I'm giving positive meaning to the things in my life, and then I'm more likely to attract more and more of those, or flow to those experiences through those parallel realities more and more because of my own state of being. So this is a powerful understanding that I think can change everything, because then you start to more so focus on your heart. Now with reality transurfing, it's less about how can I create and what I want from my head, because from the head always wants the money, the house, all of those things. But this is the thing, is we must connect to that of the heart. We must connect that to the heart, because the heart doesn't speak in the language that the head does. The head says, oh, I want the money, but you see, the heart doesn't understand that. The heart goes, why would you want paper? And see, the heart doesn't understand that there's a translation. Oh, the paper equals the freedom. The paper equals the security. But the heart doesn't understand that. The heart connects to feeling. That's the language it speaks in. So instead, focus on what you're passionate about. I focus on me doing what I love. I focus on me sharing videos and traveling the world and speaking in front of people. And because of that, guess what? I can really feel into that. It's something that's very prominent. And because of that, it's easier for me to feel for my heart as well. So I'm able to marry, in a way, the head and the heart together. So that's something that you can begin to pay attention to, is how you feel. Follow your excitement in every moment. Realize that as you do that, and as you start to increase your state of being, you will literally start to perceive of more and more favorable life tracks. As you do that, you can have the awareness that you can balance out that energy by not giving anything too much meaning, too much excess meaning. You can start to see it as natural for you to experience what you want. As you do that, be aware of any pendulums, of any thought structures that might be trying to pull you in a certain direction. Be aware of it anytime someone's venting to you at work. There's a thought structure around upper management at work, or just your company in general. Be aware of it. Don't let it affect you so much by just simply observing it and knowing that you can bring it back within. That as you bring it back within, you then focus on your intention and the things you want to experience in your life. Set those intentions. Do this segment intending. I promise you, it will change your life. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you guys liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next vid. Peace, much love, and namaste.